is 7 p.m. now. With that, oh, you can do 2 mics? Yeah, I got one over there. Welcome everyone to the meeting of the Wooddale Community Development Commission. My name is Jamie Ochoa. I am the chairman for the Wooddale Community Development Commission. And today we're going to start off with a roll call, please. Ms. Secretary?
Mr. Babowis.
Here.
Mr. Damasco.
Not here.
He's not here. Oh, okay. Sorry. Mr. Ochoa.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
Mr. Shemanik.
Here.
Ms. Zadko.
Here.
And Mr. Woods.
Here.
All right, the CDC has a quorum today. All right, moving on to continue this public hearing tonight, I'm going to ask Mr. Conway. We need, moving on, business item, we need a motion to approve the minutes from December 20th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 2021.
Second.
There being a motion and a second, all in favor say so by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
And those opposed signify by stating no. The motion carries, the minutes are approved. All right, moving on to continue this public hearing for tonight. I'm going to ask Mr. Conway, as chairman, I kindly request that you facilitate the public hearing.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Okay, we are recalling matter CDC 2021-03. This matter was continued from December 20th, 2021. Just as a review, this case involves a request for rezoning, a map amendment upon annexation from an R1 estate residential to I1 light industrial, as well as a request for a special use for a planned unit development, a preliminary plan and major site plan review, and for approval of a preliminary plat of subdivision to annex and redevelop properties generally located to the southwest of Illinois Route 83, otherwise known as Bussey Road, and Bryn Mawr Avenue. TDC Logistics Company LLC is requesting this relief on behalf of CH Realty, the property owner. At the December 20th, 2021 CDC meeting, the applicant, staff, and the general public were provided the opportunity to submit general testimony and comments regarding this matter. That aspect of the public hearing has concluded. This matter was continued for the limited purpose of providing the CDC with additional information as it relates to fire district and school district vehicle access concerns. Accordingly, this is the specific issue of focus tonight. So I want to start actually with staff. Does staff have any information to provide to the CDC on this vehicle access issue?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to kind of start with the general sort of a recap of the two items that were mentioned. As we know, the subject property is located kind of towards north side of a residential neighborhood, and the concern was that once the development comes in, the existing Pine Avenue, which, sorry, I'm going to use the pointer right there. This is where the access would be terminated, so now the residential neighborhood will only be served by the access on the south. So since the December 20th meeting, and I'm sorry, so the two main concerns, as it was just mentioned, were the fact that the buses for the school district would not be able to travel through their area, and they would not be able to turn around because there would not be sufficient space for them to turn around, and also for the fire district. They would not have the ability to kind of pass through the area, and there wasn't sufficient space for them to turn around. So since that December 20th CDC meeting, the petitioner has submitted a revised site plan. It's really just only slightly revised. This is just taking a quick look at the entire site, and this is just a close-up of the area that is located to the south. This is a close-up of the area. As you can see, Pine Avenue continued all the way north to Bryn Mawr. What the developer is proposing is to provide a connection between Pine Avenue and the existing drive aisle This would be for emergency vehicles. So in terms of any events or anything that is happening in the residential neighborhood, the fire district would have access to this side off of Foster, so that will not change. But then they will also have emergency access through the subject property by this connection of Pine Avenue to the access drive, and then that will, so Pine Avenue, and then it will continue all the way north, and then they have access to Bryn Mawr. So essentially, that same connection, the 2 points will be maintained. In terms of the school district, a turnaround will be provided. You can see this 40-foot radius turnaround will be provided. These drawings were shared with the Wooddale Fire Protection District, and they really didn't have concerns with it. They said this would work for them. The only change that they did ask is that the parking drive aisle, the width of it be increased from 24 feet that's provided to 26 feet. But that's something we still have an opportunity to change, because just as a reminder, we are going for preliminary approval at this point. So the developer will have to come back in front of the CDC for the final plan. So that gives us an opportunity to make these changes. And then the school district has also reviewed. I've received communication that they discussed it with the school bus drivers, and the proposed turnaround would be sufficient for the buses to turn around. So the two main items that were mentioned during the public hearing have been addressed.
Okay. Are there any questions for staff on the vehicle access issue?
That's not an open throughway, is it?
I'm sorry?
That's not an open throughway.
No, so it's really meant for emergency access, yes.
Yeah, I think both of these would solve the question that we had last month. My only concern would be it has to be done right away, so that it isn't halfway through the thing and they still only have one exit or the buses can't turn around.
Yes, yeah, that was also communicated by both the school district and the park, the fire district, just to ensure that access is provided one way or the other during the construction period.
During the construction, that road will always be open, correct? So
That is
even when they're
the,
bringing in cement trucks to do all their cementing and that, we're sure of that?
yes.
Okay. Does the applicant have any information to add concerning the vehicle access issue? Okay. Are there any specific questions for the applicant on this vehicle access issue? Okay, is there any member of the public who has a specific question for staff or for the applicant on the vehicle access issue? Okay, sir, can you please go up to the podium? Up that.
This is, I'm sorry, which one is this? Is the landscaping? That is the landscaping. I should be able to look for it, yes.
Sir, would you raise your right hand, please? State your name and address.
Jason DeBello, 17W040 Washington Street.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Were those the only two topics? I thought there was a third topic in regards to a clarified plan for the water runoff. What they were gonna do in place the ditch that's there, the
Yeah,
little creek.
so last month, the CDC continued this case to address the vehicle access issue only. So
Really?
that was the motion that was made by the CDC at that point in time. So
Okay.
if you have any questions on the vehicle access issue, feel free to.
Okay, and nothing with the vehicle access. Like I said, I thought one of the items was to address the water runoff, because my property is at the end where the creek that's existing runs through my property. My concern was what's gonna happen between what's changed to the two properties then on the end there where the creek goes through. What's that gonna look like? What's that gonna entail? I don't think there was actually anything written or shown at that time. They were still working on it. so it's really incomplete, and I know that it was something I did definitely ask about. I'm just wondering if there's anything more complete about that. Honestly, secondarily, I don't think we saw this sheet here last time that we were there. The one thing that I noticed here is it says future road. We didn't see that before. Is there any information about this future road or where it's going? And will this be a private road, or is this a road built by Wooddale for Wooddale?
Gosha, if you want to
Sure.
address
So
that question.
I believe the plans have changed. So the slides that were on the presentation last time did not include all of the drawings, but
Correct.
I believe this plan set was available. This is just the landscaping drawings. The future road is just we don't really have any details at this point. This is something that could come in the future, but as of right now, we don't have anything that we could share.
But would a road like that be a Wooddale-built road for Wooddale, or would it be a private road for the developer?
I don't have that information.
Okay.
At this point.
Does Wooddale allow private-owned roads in Wooddale after it's been annexed? Because if not, if it's nowhere on site, then it must be a Wooddale road.
So typically, private roads, that is a good question. I don't think private roads really are allowed, but this
Don't think so.
portion is not really owned by, it's not part of these annexation.
Okay,
So no, that would not be,
okay. I'm just thinking about the future.
mhm.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thank
you,
you
sir.
for your time. Maybe we can get some information about how that water drainage is.
Sure. And Gosha has your contact information, so you
I
feel free
believe,
to
yes.
reach out to
Okay,
Gosha.
if
Yeah.
not, I'll double check.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other member of the public who has specific questions about the vehicle access issue? Yes, ma'am, please approach the podium.
Yes, please. You
Pam
raise your right
Wozak?
hand, swear, state your name and address, please.
Pam Wozak, 385 Elmwood,
Wozak?
WAWCZAK.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
So what we got? I do. I don't have a question or a statement, or more of a statement. I just want to make sure that this access road or the extra turnaround, that it's going to stay clear of things, debris, building materials, porta potties, things on that order, because I have this envision that that could happen. You know, then the buses won't have enough room to swing around. So that's all I have, just that statement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public that has a question about the vehicle access issue? Yes, ma'am, please approach the podium.
Would you raise your right hand, please, and state your name and address?
My name is Julia Malik, 17W048 Center Street, 35-year resident and a supporter of Wooddale schools, libraries,
Just
parks,
one moment,
everything
Ms.
else.
Malik, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
I
help you
do.
God? Okay, you may continue.
I wanted to ask a question about I actually had a statement. I didn't realize there were no statements that we could make tonight, are there?
Last time this matter was before the CDC, the public had the opportunity to
And-
submit comment. I don't know if you were able to attend that meeting.
Yes, I was here. I made some of the comments about the fire truck and the turnaround, and, but there was never any mention that I couldn't, once it was changed, make comments again about any of it.
Yeah, so again, the meeting tonight was continued to specifically address the vehicle access issues. So do you have any comments or questions about that?
Well, I
particular
think it's
issue?
very short-sighted to think that a fire truck, when there's lives at stake, is going to have to go through 2 parking lots and around the bend to come in and access our neighborhood. I mean, what's to say there's not going to be a stalled car there? You know, why can't they build a road, a fire road behind there? Instead of widening the road 2 feet, push them over, push the parking lots over and have a complete access so there's no traffic in the way, ever, for that fire access. Do you see what I'm saying? I know everybody doesn't answer. But that's one of the suggestions I'd have. And I also would like Transwestern, I had a statement about how going forward and how Wooddale deals with Transwestern. And I would like to ask them to, if they are going to purchase the rest of our homes, they do it all at one time. So we don't have all this angst and what ifs and problems with school buses and runoffs, stormwater runoffs and everything else. And I'd also like Transwestern to have our wells tested before the demolition to certify that all of our wells are okay. And then I'd like to have them tested after you install those tanks. I've talked to DuPage and the stormwater management team. I mean, there is a possibility you could hurt our aquifer, or you cannot do something right. I know it's not you, could be your contractor, whatever. But that's one of the requests we'd like to make.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there any other member of the public who has any specific questions about the vehicle access issue? Okay. Yes, yes, sir. Go, please, approach the podium.
Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
John Malik, same last name as that lady, 17 W048 Center.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, Mr. Malik?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Just a question. Let's say this does get passed, okay? Just let's make that presumption, just for the sake of argument. During construction, this won't be here, this turnaround won't be here. There'll probably be a fencing across Pine Street, or what is currently Pine Street. How does that, in the meantime, between the time of construction starting and then constructing ending, when this final thing is done, what's an interim plan? Because I'm going by what had happened in the first phase where they took Ardmore and everybody north of Bryn Mawr. There was a big fence across where Pine Street used to go north into that section. And I'm presuming, since these guys are gonna own it, it's their property now, they're gonna fence it off. So we, privacy and all that. So what happens in that meantime? There's gonna be an interim when the fire trucks may not be able to get through to us from the north, and this turnaround isn't gonna be there. From now until then, would you guys have an interim or some kind of a, in the meantime plan? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would either the staff or applicant like to address that particular question?
Brian Johnson,
Mr. Johnson.
1051 East Main Street, East Dundee, Illinois.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do
Absolutely.
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Thank you.
With regards to some of the multiple comments with regards to access and what's going to be open during and when for the project and speaking with the project team, we want to provide access during construction 100% of the time. So what we are going to do is work with the general contractor, and we're going to put a very detailed phasing plan together and present that to Wooddale for approval. That's going to show when and where all the access locations are going to be during and what phase of construction. And I know fencing was brought up. Well, those access points are going to be fenced. So they'll be wide open and usable for fire access, including the roundabout that you see right here. And all that stuff will get detailed out, and they'll be working with village inspectors and everybody else just to ensure that the public safety is first and foremost.
Thank you very much.
Did they answer my question about possibly moving and putting
Does anybody want to address the question about potentially putting in a different access point?
The current
Can you take the podium, please?
The current 26-foot access here is more than adequate for a modern fire lane right now.
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me. We want to do this orderly. Do you have a follow-up question? Please take the podium. We're recording this, ma'am.
Okay, I swear to tell the truth.
You're sworn in. Go ahead.
Sworn already.
What happens if it's time, work just gets out, and all these cars are backing out of these spaces, and there's a fire? And we have had huge fires in our neighborhood before. What happens to the fire truck then?
All right, thank you, ma'am. Any follow-up?
I guess, yes, yeah.
Should there be a fire during, let's call it 5 o'clock when people are leaving, the rules of the road would still apply. You would have to yield to emergency vehicles, even in the fire lane that will be designated fire lane, just as much as you would out on Bussey Road.
All right. Is there any member of the CDC who has any follow-up questions on the vehicle access issue? Yes.
So we went through this last time, the project to the north. We were very detailed, and we sat through this and went through with everyone that was in the Wooddale Junior High. When we went through that whole process with the neighbors to the north. We made sure that their access points were available, and we made sure that everything was put into what we determined to be possible for this to have that. Is there anything else that we're missing or that we didn't learn from that process that we need to add to this in order to make sure that the residents to the south are taken care of, as well as the project is something that is beneficial to the community?
I think that's a very valid point. I am not aware of anything. I think the fact that we continued this meeting was an opportunity for us to address some of the things that we didn't necessarily consider back in December, and especially of how this proposed development will affect access to the neighborhood to the south, but I'm not aware of necessarily anything in addition to that. One thing I can think of is the possibility, because now we are opening the site, so the fire district, for example, and actually, if I may address even like the fire access. So I did have a conversation with the fire district, and their requirement is a 26-foot fire lane. So as long as they have the 26 feet of width, that will be sufficient for the vehicle. I did want to point out that we also have the truck access, like on the other side of the building. So they should be able to use this. If for any reason something happens here, there is sufficient space for them to exit. And there's an exit out on Bryn Mawr right there, and there's one right here. So possibly they could have two avenues. But in terms of the possibility of maybe any through traffic cutting through or anything like that, which I don't necessarily see that, because the residential streets on the south are fairly narrow and will be difficult for people to go through. We could consider, if it does become an issue, maybe having a gate, an emergency gate or some sort of a breakthrough gate specifically for emergency purposes, so that the access between the neighborhood to the south and to the north is really for emergencies only, and there's no through traffic going through. But as I said, it's probably unlikely that that would happen, because there will be signage, and as part of the traffic impact study that was provided, it was sort of indicated that there will be sort of like education for the drivers that will be making deliveries, but also for the signage that's on site that will really direct most of the vehicles to Bryn Mawr and then to Edgewood to be able to access the intersection by Alden O'Hare Expressway and Bussey all the way to the north.
Okay, and a follow-up to that, can you say anything to the success or failures that we had in developing the facility or the property to the north in regards to some of these areas that we have concern, and especially construction traffic?
The main thing that I recall, obviously during construction, there's always a couple months that are uncomfortable because there's going to be traffic and there was dust. So we've had complaints. We did our best to address it. We did find that the general contractor was responsive. We probably weren't able to catch all of the items, but usually if there was a complaint about a dust or something not being cleaned, that was communicated to us and we would communicate with the developer. So we do have that relationship with them, and that's something definitely that will be enforced as we move forward.
Okay, and that's something important that the residents of the south need to know as well, is how to get something done if they need and who to contact.
Yeah, they can.
So who to contact is a good point for if they're moving forward, if there's a concerned resident with transit, access, safety issues. What are they to do, Gosha?
So ultimately, it would be the community development department. Once we go through the approval process, assuming everything is approved, there will be building permits involved, and whenever there are building permits, community development department, more specifically the building department, would be the best way to go. We always have somebody available, and people can actually file anonymous complaints, or they can call our office specifically and be particular, this is the site, this is what I'm noticing, and usually that's when, once we have a complaint, somebody goes out on site to actually inspect it. Ultimately, it's the best to do it right at the time if possible, so that our inspector can observe it at the time and then we take action.
Okay. Any other questions from the CDC? Sir, do you have a comment about the vehicle access issue or a question?
Ask the question?
You approach the podium, please.
Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
My name is Olga Tushkevich at 17W121 Center Street.
Would you spell your last name, please?
T is Tom, YSZKIEWICZ.
Okay, thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
Thank you.
One question, during the construction, or all of the construction traffic, absolutely without any question, will go through the Bryn Mawr, correct? There is absolutely no way that any construction, not workers with their pickup trucks or anything, will go from through the neighborhood. All of the construction traffic, it's gonna go through the from Bryn Mawr. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Any other questions about the vehicle access issue from the CDC? Okay. Does the applicant wish to say anything more in support of your application tonight?
And would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
Yes, Marshall Huberty at 200 West Madison. I think nothing more than just to say we look forward to working with the city with this project and addressing all the comments as they come up. And we look forward to a successful project like we had in Wooddale 1 and Wooddale 2.
Thank you very much. Okay, having no additional testimony,
Excuse
I will now
me.
need a...
Sorry.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry.
sorry.
Portia?
I just received a handout from one of the public members that wanted to be redistributed to the CDC members, so I'll just hand it out.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Gosha.
Okay, and just let the record reflect that the CDC members have been handed written statements dated January 17th, 2022, submitted by Ms. Julia Malik. a Mohawk Manor resident, and those will be made part of the record, Ms. Mallon. Okay, having no additional testimony, I now need a motion to close the public hearing for case number CDC 2021-03.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, this is seconded by Mr. Woods. All right, let's have a roll call on that, Marilyn, please.
Okay. One moment, please. Mr. Babowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Ochoa,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson. No. No? Mr. Shamanik, Ms. Zadko,
Yes.
and Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Motion
And
carries.
that motion passes. And just to remind the members, that was simply a motion to close the public hearing portion. Okay, so now this is the portion where the CDC members deliberate amongst each other. And so this is your opportunity to express your views or make any comments on the relief that's requested by the applicant. Is there any member of the CDC who would like to make any additional comments or statements on the relief requested by the applicant? Okay, very good. So we do have, as always, we have a motion, draft motion that is provided by staff. It is in page 17 of the staff memo. Due to the complexity of the project, it's a lengthy motion. So what I will do is I will read the motion, and a member can say so moved. There will be a second, and remember, that is just to get the motion on the floor for a vote. It doesn't mean that you're in favor or against, it's just to get it on the floor. So here is the recommended motion. Based on the submitted petition and the testimony presented, the proposed rezoning from R1 Estate Residential upon annexation to I1 Light Industrial District, special use for a plan unit development, preliminary plan, major site plan review, and preliminary plat of subdivision meet the standards of approval and are consistent with the UDO and the comprehensive plan, and therefore I move that the Community Development Commission adopt the findings of fact included within the staff memo dated January 17, 2022, as the findings of the Community Development Commission, and recommend to the City Council approval of rezoning from R1 Estate Residential upon annexation to I1 Light Industrial District, special use for a plan unit development, preliminary plan and major site plan review, and approval of a preliminary plat of subdivision for the 24.1906 acres property in the Breganeres Mohawk Manor, generally located to the southwest of Illinois Route 83, Plessy Road, and Bryn Mawr Avenue, in case number CDC 2021-0003, subject to the following conditions. Condition 1, the special use, plan unit development, preliminary major site plan review, and preliminary plat of subdivision shall substantially conform to the staff memo dated January 17, 2022, and the attached exhibits, except as such plans may be modified to meet city code requirements. Where deviations to the codes have not been requested as part of this approval, the existing codes must be met as applicable at the time of permit application. Condition 2, final engineering approval. Condition 3, successful execution of the land swap agreement between the applicant and the Wooddale Park District. That is the motion. So a member can say so moved.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we
Who was that, Mr.
Fabulous.
Babas?
Babowitz?
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Final engineering approval on that motion, does that include stormwater management, which is under consideration?
Gosha?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have a second, and we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Marilyn, can you please take a roll call on that?
Yes. Mr. Babowitz,
Yes.
Mr. Ochoa,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Shemanek,
Yes.
Ms. Zatko,
No.
and Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Okay. The motion passes. The recommendation from the CDC will be that to approve the zoning relief as requested. That concludes this public hearing. Mr. Chairman, that concludes tonight's matters, and I will cede the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. We'll continue with staff liaison report. Is there a report from any staff?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to kind of get a reminder that every time a member is elected to a committee, and maybe Sean can probably fill in a little bit more in this, we are required to complete the Open Meetings Act training, and there's a certificate that's obtained at the very end. We did have some issues because I think the website was not working for a couple of months, but now it is operational. So there are a couple members that I have asked to complete their training. So if you have not heard from me, I think it's fine. It actually was Mr. Damasco and Mr. Babowitz, we already spoke today. So this is, I just wanted to kind of make everyone aware that your OMA training is good for the duration of your term, which typically is 2 years. So most of the members are fine, but once the term expires and if you're back on the committee, then we will ask you to complete the training again. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gosha.
Is there any other report from staff?
Well, actually, I could just add that we are getting close to completion of our UDO rewrite. This is a project that started a couple years ago, actually. We are working with developers, so we're anticipating probably in the next few months we will be bringing the revised UDO chapter before the CDC for a public hearing. So I'm thinking probably a couple months from now.
How many pages we talking about there?
Oh, you don't want to know. It's quite substantial.
Anyone else? If no one else, we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, there being a motion and a second, all in favor, say so by saying yes.
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 All opposed? Okay, all right, motion carries, meeting is adjourned.